Hey guys, subscribe for daily content. And if you're shopping for gear, make sure you check out the description for the newest items at some of the very best online retailers. There's also links for some of the items that I personally recommend. Thanks!
What's going on YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I've got another interesting knife review slash knife overview to share with you guys. This is the Vosteed Corsair, a well-priced and versatile folding knife, one that I like. I'm going to share with you guys my thoughts and opinions. This knife should be available right now. I will link it down in the description. When you use those links, it does help my channel, but that's entirely up to you. Thanks so much to Vosteed for sending this in for me to take a look at. Thanks to my patrons for supporting me. And please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. Let's go ahead and get a measurement of this knife. Overall length is coming in at 7.5 inches. Blade length is coming in at 3 1/4. Cutting edge is coming in at 3 1/8. If you're thinking that kind of looks similar to like maybe the Benchmade bug out or the Hogue Deca especially, yeah, I think so. I think they wanted to kind of get a knife there in the running that was less expensive. But as I always mention, Hogue did not invent this handle shape or blade shape, and neither did Benchmade with the bug out. So you can't say copy unless it's like a direct, like a sort of cutout of the aesthetic of either knife. No, but I do think it's very similar, and I think that is intentional. I also think it's completely and totally okay. Size comparisons up against the Ontario Rat Model 1 and Model 2. It's obviously closer to the Rat 2 in size. Let's put it up against the CJRB Pyrite. I think that's a good one. How about the Civivi Elementum? I think that's also a good one. Let's go ahead and put it up against the Benchmade Bug Out, which I would love to do, except there it is right there. I was going to say I lost it. You can put it up against, we put it up against the Bug Out here, and you can see it's very similar in overall length. Where the blade starts, where the handle starts, but of course the handle profiles are different and the blade profiles are also different. But this general size range I think is absolutely what they were going for. Let's talk about action here. How's the action? It's very good, and I'll tell you why. These are high tension Omega springs on this crossbar lock, and this knife is the knife that really, I've been feeling this way for a while. I was like, I think I prefer high tension Omega springs over the medium or light tension, especially. Light tension Omega springs are pointless. But I was like, well, it might differ with design. In every case, the higher tension Omega springs just feel better. And this is the one where I just feel like, yeah, even on a knife that's not super big, I think I prefer those high tension Omega springs. So that's really nice. The pull away, I guess, it takes a bit of effort, but enough to where it feels good. It just leaves me with confidence on lockout, and also confidence with manipulation. So the action feels great. It runs on bearings. The thumb studs are in the right place. I mean, everything feels like extremely natural. It's just how you'd want it to feel. I will mention any company that's using Omega springs now in 2023 and moving forward, include extra Omega springs. They don't break as often as the internet would have you believe, right? I mean, like, for every person that complains about a broken Omega spring, there are 1,000 people who don't, because their knives are still working, right? So that's just going to be the case. But they do fail more often than other locking systems on knives, or just other elements on knives. Including extra Omega springs is a great idea, because then people can go ahead and fix them or replace them if necessary. And if you're looking at this knife and you're like, I don't know if I'm going to buy it because if an Omega spring breaks, I'm screwed. No, you're not. Sizing an Omega spring is very easy and very inexpensive. You can get them on eBay. Like, for any knife, you'll be just fine. And you can pick up multiple sets. But we shouldn't have to do that. We should just have extra Omega springs in the box. I think that would be nice, and there's no way that it costs that much, from the factory or whatever. So Vosteed, I think it would be a good idea moving forward. Include some extra Omega springs with your knives, maybe varying tensions, for people who don't prefer the heavier tension. But we've got some other companies doing that, and it's always appreciated. Let's go ahead and do carry profile. Thickness up against the Spyderco Para 3. It's about the same. The scales are contoured, but not super duper thick and also not super skinny. Length and height up against the PM2 and Para 3. This guy is no longer than the Para 3, definitely shorter in terms of this, this way. Lengthwise, though, no longer than the Para 3. Definitely shorter and smaller than the PM2. Honestly, very compact, easy to carry knife. Let's go ahead and do a hardware check. I'm going to get out my tools as per usual. My tools are very inexpensive and very recommendable. You can find them right down in the section of my description that talks about the tools that I use on this channel. I believe the pivot is a T8. Yeah, it is. And then we got a bunch of T6 body screws, but a lot of you might be thinking, hey, that's neat. They only did 2 per side on a crossbar lock. Usually we have one in the middle, right? Like on the Hogue or on the Benchmade. And that's because it's housing a cartridge liner that stops halfway down. So to keep everything held in place, they have to have a screw in the middle. These liners actually go all the way to the butt. So you can use this screw back here to hold the nested liners in place. My nose is running like crazy. Sorry, guys. But this holds it in, so we just need 2 screws, which is great. It's got minimal hardware, which is not something you normally see with a crossbar lock. So really just a couple of T6 screws on each side and then some T6 screws holding the pocket clip in. So it shouldn't be that difficult to take apart. You will have to mess around with the Omega Spring area, which is not super duper fun. Anybody who's never done it before, it's far from impossible, but your first experience will be a frustrating one. The more time you spend taking knives like this apart, the easier it gets. But the first time is a little bit fussy, so just be cognizant of that. Let's go ahead and weigh it. For materials, we are looking at micarta, steel for the liners, steel for the pocket clip, and then Nitro V for the blade steel. I'm gonna guess this thing comes in right around 3 ounces, maybe a little bit less. Yeah, 2.89 ounces, so definitely a lightweight knife and definitely fantastic ratios, right? For, what did we come in at, a 3 1/4 inch blade, something like that? Very nice, actually. Let's go ahead and measure blade stock thickness and then we'll get into the meat and potatoes of it. I'm gonna guess this blade comes in at about 115 thousandths. Let's give it a shot. Yeah. 115,000, so definitely on the thinner side. Okay, if you watch my unboxing, then you'll know that this has an incredible factory edge on it. Excuse me. Cutting paper doesn't really prove anything, but as far as, bitey edges like right out of the box, this thing is absolutely, I'm trying to get like micro bites into this paper. This thing is absolutely wild. I mean, look at this area back here where I got like little teeny tiny ones. This has got a fantastic factory edge on it, and the geometry of the blade in general is very, very good. It's just a wonderful overall EDC profile. The handle shape and ergonomic, I guess the contouring and the chamfering of the edges is all really great. I love Vosteed's pocket clip. It is hands down one of the best budget clips on the market. This is recessed with recessed screws. It's a deep carry clip, doesn't need to be, but that's a bonus in my book. Consistent taper and a slight swoop at the edge with a rounded bill. My God, perfection. It's so good, and it doesn't create an issue ergonomically because the whole thing is so shallow, right, and rounded. Really nice, for a knife of this size, being able to get a full purchase and comfort and a number of different grips, right? It's really great. I think it's also a nice look. They got a little pivot color here. This one's blue. They got a few different colors. So like I said, these are linked in the description so you can check out all the different colors if you want to. 3 little lines here just for some aesthetic zest in an area that would otherwise be very boring. So I think that's fine. You can see here that we've got a little spot milled out for a filler tab, and it does come with the extra filler tab and some extra hardware. You can flip that clip over to the other side, which is great because these crossbar locks are ambidextrous in nature, so having a mounting position for lefties when it comes to the pocket clip is great. They can experience the exact same knife. It comes with a backspacer, and on their website they say you can extend the length of the handle if you want by using the backspacer. I found that is true. You can extend the handle length by about 1/4 inch, But that is a 1/4 inch does go a long ways for some people. So if you find that your hands are just big enough that you're sliding over the edge on the back or whatever, you can put that backspacer in there and it will extend. How does that work? Well, you can see what's happening here. I mean, I'm not going to actually take it apart, but where this attaches, it actually moves. It fills in this sort of triangle area right here. So it'll give you a 1/4 to a 1/3 of an inch, something like that. Or you can put it on there and just because you like backspacers. That's also how you attach the lanyard thing, right? So if you absolutely love lanyards, well, there you go. That's what you have to attach. If you don't, or you don't care, you don't need the extended handle length, then you just don't put it on there. But it comes with it. That's kind of neat. It does technically add a functional element, so I'm okay with that. Let's see here. The blade. Tumbled drop point blade, really nice. Initially, I thought there was a slight recurve, but there definitely is not. The thumb studs are in the right place. They are out of the cutting path. I like the little thumb ramp up here. The jimping is absolutely functional. We've got a flat that carries out maybe something like 50%, 45% the length of the blade. Nice long swedge, good tip. Fantastic cutting geometry. I mean, I don't know what it is about this factory edge, just the blade geometry in general, but this thing is absolutely ready to go to work. A lot of what's great about the bug out and the Hogue Deca are present in this knife. I would say it's just a little beefier and obviously substantially less expensive. But a lot of the formula for what makes those knives great is absolutely present here. It just doesn't cost nearly as much. The bug out has an insane price tag. I honestly don't know how any rational person justifies the price of the bug out, right? If you just really love the bug out and you just really want that thing in your pocket, then okay. The Hogue Deca is straight up a way better deal. Both of those knives are made in the United States, and you're going to pay extra for it, right? They also come in more premium steels. For people who kind of like the profile of those knives or like the idea of those knives or just don't have that budget or just are not interested in spending that much on a knife, this is largely the answer. I mean, there's a couple other knives out there that are similar, but this is largely going to be the answer. It really does all of that stuff, and it's very similar all the way around, just for less money. We have one standoff back here. That's fine. We already talked about the pocket clip. The lockup is very solid. No blade play up, down, left, or right. No stick off the crossbar. No pivot lash. Nice and smooth in here. Plenty of retention. Those Omega springs keeping that blade down there in the closed position. And we are perfectly centered. So this knife, and by the way, Nitro V, I think is a fantastic and well-rounded steel. I think people are going to prefer, here or there, they might prefer a 154cm, 14C28N. Any of those steels would have been just fine, very acceptable at this price point. But Nitro V is a great all-around, in my opinion. A lot of people say specifically budget steel. It's not, though. We see Nitro V actually all the way up into custom knife territory. It's kind of like, it's not the same thing as CPM 154 or RWL 34, but it's one of those steels where it's just sort of accepted, not just for its balance, but it's an easier composition to machine. It's an easier composition to polish or apply certain finishes to, and so it's one of those steels that just feels a little more premium, but at the same time is easier to work with. So I completely and totally accept it, obviously, at the $69 territory. Giggity, that is where this knife falls. $69 I think is just fine. I have no issue with that whatsoever. There's a lot of extra effort here. Ambi lock, ambi clip, nested liners, contoured scales, Nitro V, micarta, and then we have fantastic overall fit and finish, very easy to manipulate, just a really well executed product. This knife isn't doing anything new. It's not it's not breaking the barriers of innovation or anything like that. It's just a good knife. They've got a good design here, and they didn't take any risks. They, went with what they have found has worked, and I think they filled a little bit of a gap in the knife market. If you, have always loved the idea of EDCing and again, there are differences, right? I'm not saying it's identical, but if you love the idea of EDCing something like the Deca or the Bug Out, and you just didn't want to spend that type of money, the Corsair is the answer. This is absolutely. So for $69, it's absolutely recommendable. It's also, in my book, that makes it a budget knife, anything under $75. So this is going to go on my cheap knives I like playlist. and also my most recommended knives playlist. I think the Corsair is a fantastic design. So this will end up being given away during a live stream at some point, so if you needed a reason to subscribe and you hadn't found one yet, there you go. I do live streams usually on Fridays or Saturdays in the evenings, and I always give away knives. Thanks again to Vosteed for sending this knife in. Please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do of course have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on that Metal Complex logo right there and subscribe because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.